and only 2023 NFL mock draft, and the goal for the viewers today, try your absolute best to not get triggered. And no, I'm not using PFF for this. Who pays to do mock drafts? The good fellas at Pro Football Network don't have their mock draft behind a paywall, so we'll gladly use their mock draft simulator. Now keep in mind, this mock draft is what I think the teams are going to do, not necessarily who I'd pick, so like just don't bite me, dude. It's not serious. I think I'm stupid anyway. I don't know why you all asked me to do this anyway. I'm a freaking moron. With the number 1 pick in the 2023 NFL draft, I think the Carolina Panthers select Bryce Young. I know for a minute it looked like they were going all out for CJ Stroud when they traded up. There might be a little bias here, but when I say that Bryce Young is the best, and I mean the best college football quarterback I've ever had the privilege of watching, I mean it, dude. He does stuff that like science can't even explain. I've had a deep down feeling for a while now, at least a year or so, that there was just no shot an NFL team is going to evaluate Bryce Young and not take him if they have the opportunity, especially a team like the Panthers. If Bryce Young can stay healthy, this guy will 100% end up a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He is absolutely majestic in the pocket. I know his health is a big if with his frame, but if you can find a way, like Drew Brees with his size, I think Bryce Young is going to have a magnificent NFL career, and he's going to make Panthers fans very happy they made this pick. Moving on to the Texans. Honest to God, dude, if I'm the Texans, I take CJ Stroud. But for some reason, I really do have a sneaky suspicion, especially with the draft odds lately, that the Texans are actually going to stay put and go Will Anderson. You see everywhere that they fell in love with this guy. I just really just have that feeling. And once again, Texans fans, if I'm you, I would be irate at this because I would 100% want CJ Stroud. But I just really do think they end up just taking Will Anderson. And as a Titans fan, dude, this would make me happy because I just really don't want either one of CJ or Bryce Young in the AFC South, so this would make me very happy. Now the Cardinals, the spot that everybody thinks has a fantastic shot of being traded down. Now the question, which one of these teams are the most likely? And honestly, I really think with their draft capital, it could be the Seattle Seahawks. I really think the Colts will be okay, like picking either Anthony Richardson or Will Levis at number 4. So I really think the Seahawks are going to want to jump ahead and get the guy they think can be the future. This might be inaccurate, but we'll give them like a 2nd round pick and then give them maybe a 123, maybe a 5th from next year. I mean, that could be way off. Why is the trade decline? I'm the one who controls every team. There we go. That's more like it. Now the Seahawks, with no problems, can go and select Anthony Richardson to sit behind Geno Smith for a few years. And I think that would be the absolute perfect scenario for Anthony Richardson. I think, honestly, for him, he probably wants to go to somewhere like the Seahawks. So the Colts at 4, I really think they end up with all the draft chatter out there. And keep in mind, guys, this isn't just my opinion. Some of the draft chatter out there, what I think these teams are going to do, from what it sounds like, CJ Stroud might actually, I would think this is absolutely moronic, but it sounds like the Colts love themselves some William, and I think they go with Will. And again, as a Titans fan, there is a world out there where it's an absolute like nightmare scenario where the Texans and Colts get CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. In this, I would throw a party. So we'll just leave it at that. Cardinals at 5, I think this could be a tough one, to be completely honest. Especially if they lose DeAndre Hopkins, could they just trade back and get another wide receiver? I honestly think at this point, they would just go best player available. And I think this is where the Jalen Carter slide could end. He's just too good of a player, regardless of his baggage, to make it past 5. So Jalen Carter, Cardinals, I think they'd be happy as long as, keeps his head straight. Number 6, I think this is an absolute perfect scenario for Devin Witherspoon. They need a DB bad. They just got rid of Jeff Okudah. Like, I personally think Christian Gonzalez is probably the best in the draft, but there's just too many connections there. It makes too much sense for their scheme, so we're definitely going Devin Witherspoon to the Lions. Raiders at 7. This 100% would be a dream scenario for Las Vegas, and if they actually passed up on CJ Stroud here, somebody would be getting fired. That's now 4 quarterbacks in the top 7 picks, and it might be a while before we see the next one selected. Number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. What do I think you guys will do here? Honestly here, dude, I think the most sense probably goes with Tyree Wilson. He's a guy that really could go to the Seahawks at 5 if they don't trade up. You could see him slide later in the top 10, but I think the fall would stop here. We have Tyree Wilson going to the Falcons. Next pick for the Bears, I think this is a fantastic pick. Paris Johnson, plug and fill. You have that tackle for Justin Fields for as long as you want. Like, I think this is an absolute perfect fit for Chicago with all the moves they made. This could be a big one. Now, Eagles at 10, another pick that I think makes the world of sense. Christian Gonzalez. I think this is a match made in heaven, and I think him going to the Eagles literally could be a game changer. I think this man is all-pro caliber, and I don't think he's going to have an impact like Sauce Gardner year 1, but if anybody's going to do that, it'll be Christian Gonzalez. That moves on to my Tennessee Titans at 11, and this is the guy that I have been penciling here for a long, long time, and I think, honestly, there's no way the team passes on him if he falls this far. The question is just if he's going to fall this far. Peter Skoronski. He could play tackle, he could play guard, probably be plug and fill at left guard this season. Like, he is exactly what we need. Could develop into tackle later. He has like shorter arms, but you know, guys like Rashawn Slater have proved, you know, that's not the biggest deal in the world. I just think he's too good to pass up here, and I really don't think they go with another Georgia offensive tackle. I think he's just Broderick Jones off the board. I think so. But with that said, Peter Skoronski to the Titans, and I think that would be a great pick. Next, the Texans. This is a scenario where I would probably cry. I really would probably cry, especially if they end up getting CJ Stroud here and going with this next pick. Jackson Smith-Njigba. Oh my gosh, dude, an absolute monster. Imagine, though, they get him and CJ Stroud. Even just Jackson on his own. Pretty rough. The Titans are going to have to cover him for the next decade, but there's just no way the Texans pass up on him, right? There's no shot. Next, we have the Jets. This one, I mean, could be a little boring. They need edge rusher. They could do something wild, you know. The Jets, especially with the Aaron Rodgers trade looming, you never know. But assuming they keep the pick, which I don't think they'll give this away for Aaron Rodgers, I think they just go edge. They need edge rushers, you know, in that division. They have a decent guy, you know, a decent quarterback in the AFC East. They need to overthrow Josh Allen. So they need everybody in the world to chase him around. But Myles Murphy, I think, a good fit. Really good fit for Robert Saleh's defense in New York. Like, honestly, the Patriots, they could trade down. Like, knowing but at the same time, how often they get a top 15 pick, so they might want to stay. So assuming that they stay, and I have seen a lot of rumors about the Patriots potentially wanting a guy like Bijan Robinson, because he's so good, bro. If it wasn't for the running back slander over the past 5-6 years, he's a top probably 5 pick. If Bijan came out around the same time as a Trent Richardson, he might be like a top 3 pick. But I don't think so. I don't think so. Patriots have some bigger needs, and honestly, this is probably the biggest reach so far. It makes too much sense. There's a lot of chatter about it, a lot of chatter. And if the Patriots are going to be somebody to reach on somebody, it's still a good player. I mean, probably a pretty big reach, but I just have a really big feeling on this one. I think they're going Zay Flowers. They've had private meetings with them, private visits. Like, it's Boston College, New England Patriots. It just seems like a Bill Belichick move. They need wide receiver badly. He's a great little player. I could be totally wrong. They could trade down and get him still. But something's just telling me, man. I feel like all the Patriots fans are going to hate me after this. Now, Green Bay Packers. At this point, they should be full force into the Jordan Love era. And I think, more than ever, they need to give him some help, which could mean offensive tackle and a guy like Broderick Jones. I think they have to replace a guy like Alan Lazard. Like, they just have too little around the young quarterback in Jordan Love. They need a receiver. They need a receiver. And the question is Quentin Johnson or a guy like Jordan Addison. And to me, I feel like a better pair with a guy like Christian Watson would be Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison plus Christian Watson could be a pretty deadly duo. Let's go, Jordan Addison, 2 straight wide receivers off the board. I mean, that one, I'm not as confident in that one as some of the other ones. Like, once you get to, like, pick 16, like, second half, like, things are kind of all over the place. But I like that fit, I really do. Now, the Commanders really could use a little bit of everything. I really could see them going for somebody like a Joey Porter type, Ringo. Deontay Banks could actually be a really, really good fit here. Oh my gosh, that actually might be the move. You know what? I'm just doing it. I know it's too cliche, same thing with the Boston College New England Patriots move, but I just think Deontay Banks would be perfect in that Commanders defense. Just a perfect fit. Now moving on to the Steelers. Honestly, here they could go a bunch of different ways. I think they end up going tackle, and obviously I think that's between Broderick Jones and Darnell Wright. I think they're both extremely good tackles, but I think I gotta give it to Broderick Jones. I think he kind of really fits that kind of Mauler type offense there in Pittsburgh. That's actually a really good fit now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, we're going Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones for sure. Now the Lions, another team that, you know, could kind of go a bunch of different directions. They don't need DB because Devin Witherspoon, we got him with pick number 6. So what could you do? Brian Branch. Oh my gosh, Brian Branch mixing in that secondary with Devin Witherspoon. Oh my gosh, that secondary immediately. I'm doing it. This is just kind of on the whim, but like that just seems too good to be true. Like an edge rusher would be really nice on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, but that back, like that secondary is horrible, absolutely atrocious last season. And you give 2 first-round picks to that secondary for the next 4 or 5 years. I think that's a dub. That's a huge dub. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like that's another team that's in a mess, and they really could go any of these positions. But at the end of the day, I'm sitting here thinking, this is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What is the most Tampa Bay Buccaneer move here possible? And honest to God, I think that's a guy like Lucas Van Ness. I really think you just look at his profile, he's just a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. They need edge help. They need help everywhere. 20, we have the Seattle Seahawks. I think another team that could potentially use a DB. But which cornerback? To be completely honest, I think Joey Porter. Him and Tariq Woolen back there in the secondary. Oh my gosh, dude, the amount of athleticism will have their coaching staff foaming at the mouth. Los Angeles Chargers, another move that I think could potentially be seen as boring, but I think a solid move nonetheless. They go with Mr. Isaiah out of Notre Dame. They could use a little edge help. Really could, especially in that division. There's just some of these teams too, especially some of the recent ones. You just look at historically the last few years what they do in the draft, and you just see a certain player and you're like, yeah, he's a Charger. And Isaiah, to me, he just seems like a Charger. Now Ravens, I don't think they go wide receiver now. They just got Odell Beckham, although you never know with him. I just think if they're taking a wide receiver in the first round, they wouldn't have went out and got Odell. They really could use some tackle help. And I think this could be where we see Darnell Wright go off the board. I think a really good pick. Now, here, my friends, is an absolute wild one for you. We have 23 Minnesota Vikings. Dalvin Cook will probably be gone by then. And there is absolutely no shot Bijan Robinson should still be available here. I think if anything, at this point, like a team will trade up to get him. But imagine a Dalvin Cook replacement being Bijan Robinson in an offense that has, you know, some other decent players like, you know, Justin Jefferson. Oh my God, imagine that offense, dude. Now the Jacksonville Jags, a player that screams Jag to me, Ringo from Georgia. They need DBs. They need speed. And Mr. Ringo has a lot of that. He did another one that just seems like the Jacksonville Jag pick. I really think Nolan Smith is another guy that could go there, but I think they go DB. Pick number 25, yes, I do think we get back-to-back corners drafted. The thing is, this is such a good corner class. These corners are absolutely ridiculous, and just because Cam Smith is like the 5th or 6th one pick doesn't mean he's not going to be absolutely fantastic. I think he could be potentially the 3rd best cornerback in this class. The other ones, I just felt like were better fits in those organizations, but Cam Smith, you, my sir, are a New York Giant. 26 Cowboys. I mean, they could go D-line, Brian Brees. They really need a wide receiver. They really could use and there's a bunch of different positions. I mean, imagine Trenton Simpson on that defense with Micah Parsons, dude. But I personally think this where we see Quentin Johnston finally get taken off the board. And he might not be the perfect fit in Dallas, but they're kind of at the point where they need wide receiver help bad, like very, very bad. If anything, I think Mr. Dak Prescott would be happy with this pick. Buffalo Bills 100%. They need a guard. They maybe need a linebacker. And for me, I just think Trenton Simpson just makes way too much sense. Me, though, personally, I think Jack Campbell is the best linebacker this entire class. I think he is like the next Brian Urlacher. But Trenton Simpson, I think this fits what Buffalo needs. They lost quite a bit in that back seven. They need safety, they need cornerback, they need a lot. But a good start is a very, very athletic guy in Trenton Simpson. The Cincinnati Bengals. I, honest to God, think that this fit right here would be amazing for what they want to do there. Tight end might not be the most popular thing you see mocked to the Bengals, but with how this board fell and what the Bengals need, I think they would be ecstatic to get such a complete tight end like Michael Mayer added that offense. Like, you add him, you add the element of a dynamic tight end who can also block really, really well to an offense that has guys like Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, there's a guy named Jamar Chase I think plays for him. That's not fair. This should not be allowed. 29 Saints. I think this is where the Mr. Brian fall ends. Good player, like a lot of questions around him. A lot of people don't like Brian. I just think he's one of those guys that really needs to be in the right fit. And I think New Orleans is perfect for him. Exactly what they need. And maybe Saints fans aren't the happiest at this pick, but I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Oh my gosh, pick number 2 for the Eagles. And Nolan Smith is just screaming out to me, dude. Nolan Smith is freaking screaming out to me. He's an Eagle. If he's still available here, he's a freaking Eagle. That's just too perfect. And last but not least, Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Another team that really could go anywhere with this pick. Anywhere. And I personally think Kansas City goes defense here. Jalen Hyatt could be very, very, very tempting here. And Dalton Kincaid, I just know they're not gonna pick him. But just imagine what they could have run with Dalton Kincaid, Travis Kelce in that offense. But I think they do the smart thing. They get guys that can get to the quarterback. They really could use some DBs here, but I don't think there's really anybody here that I would feel comfortable picking, like a safety or DB that they could use here. So I'm going to do the smart thing. Go edge. Best available, BJ Ojulari. I don't know. I think that's a respectable first round. You guys can tell me where I looked like a fool. But hopefully you enjoyed regardless. And if you did, you can click right here to watch a video that I promise you, it's not as bad as this one.